Israeli terrorists, with the help of the US forces, have brutally slaughtered more than 31 desperately hungry people who had arrived to collect food. Now you decide what kind of people first invite desperately starving people to come and collect food, and then when they do, they are shot dead using tank shells. That's Israeli terrorists and their American partners for you. And how does the BBC report this yet another act of Israeli brutality? If you were watching the BBC today, you would be left confused and in full of doubt about this latest act of Israeli barbarism. Watch BBC Rajini Vaidyanathan in this clip. This doesn't feel like a presenter from an organization which has more than 21,000 people working for it. He started by attributing the news to Hamas-run health ministry. And this was several hours after the incident. You have to understand that. Yet the BBC, with more than 21,000 staff members, could not confirm this news either from its huge Middle East bureau or dozens of freelance journalists in Gaza. So why do they need our billions of pounds if they'd like to report only from the cave? Hamas is a proscribed terrorist organization in the UK. So let's start the news item by attributing the claim to Hamas. Let's not do any work and contact our sources on the ground to confirm the story, but attribute it to Hamas. You know why? You know why. I know why. Then run a denial by Israelis and the Gaza Aid Foundation. That's why I said it was as if the BBC is operating out of a cave, where staff members don't have access to anyone to confirm the news from their own sources. Anyway, watch this clip.
The health ministry in Gaza, which is run by Hamas, says that at least 31 Palestinians have been killed and many wounded when Israeli tanks fired on them near a food distribution centre. Thousands of Palestinians are said to have gathered outside the centre as it distributed aid in the early morning. A British surgeon in Gaza said there had been mass casualties. The US-funded Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which runs the centre, described the reports as false and fabricated, and the Israel Defense Forces said they were unaware of any casualties caused by shelling at the centre.
What's shocking is that when Rajini Vaidyanathan was reading this news item, even Israeli media outlets were running this story without any attribution to Hamas-run health ministry. Associated Press, a globally renowned news agency, which used to supply news items to BBC only until a few years ago, it flashed the news items quoting its own correspondents from Gaza. Red Cross Hospital, which admitted most of the victims, confirmed the fatalities and also how they were killed. And yet, BBC chose to report the story by remaining in the cave. Why should we be made to fund this organization? Why? Gary Lineker had once called out BBC's attempt to balance its coverage, even in the face of Israel's genocidal campaign. This clip never gets old.
I know where I stand on this. I'm sorry, it's more important than what the BBC, what's going on there is, the mass murder of thousands of children is probably something that we should have a little opinion on.
But the BBC as a whole needs to be impartial about it.
Why? It needs to be factual.
It needs to be impartial about a conflict, doesn't it? And it's hard.
Does it have to be? It wasn't impartial about Ukraine and Russia.
And you might say that the...
Why does it have to be impartial about... I understand if it's partial about our government and things in this country and everything like that, but something that's going on that far away, why does it...
Because the Israeli position is that what is happening in Gaza, and by the way, I'm not here as an advocate of the Israeli government, but the Israeli position is that what is happening in Gaza is a response to the slaughter and capture of innocent Israelis on October the 7th. And
which was awful, which was truly awful.
And that full context needs to be there when discussing what's going on.
But that's not the full context, is it? Because the full context starts way before October the 7th, doesn't it?
It sounds like you think the BBC is in a complete mess on impartiality.
No, I don't think the BBC is in a mess. I think the BBC has it. It's very difficult for the BBC. I think the BBC generally does a really good job of it, but it's not always easy. I think facts are the most important thing that they, it's like that old thing, isn't it? If it's raining outside, you don't need someone's opinion to say it's not raining. What you want to see is actually what is the weather outside.
Sky News' Trevor Phillips spoke to Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sharon Haskell. Watch this clip of this interview to understand just how rogue my former employer has turned into.
For example, this morning, we understand that 26 people were killed in an Israeli attack near an aid distribution center. What can you tell us about that?
So I've just checked because that was breaking just as I was coming online to your show. The IDF said it's actually reviewing this issue right now to see it. They didn't have any information to give me before I came online with you. But I have to say that during the last week, we have heard so much propaganda coming from Hamas about the humanitarian distribution point that I wouldn't be surprised if that's another case like that.
If I may say so, Ms. Haskell, that I've just asked you about a very specific incident. It's a Red Cross hospital. We are getting reports. We can't verify it for ourselves. And I'm just trying, as I can, to get you to explain what you think has happened. From what you've already said, you seem to be accepting that there would be some Israeli Defense Force responsibility here.
No, absolutely not. I said that we've just heard about this case from your media, and that was literally 2 minutes before I came online to your show. I immediately asked to get some information, whether there's something like that, and they said they have no information and that they are searching for that information. I will not come and tell you lies. I will not come
but
and...
you've just said that you know for a fact the IDF wasn't involved. I mean...
No, I said
either we know or we don't know.
Well, if you want, not to report directly from the mouth of Hamas propaganda, there needs to be time for investigation
I would like our people to report from the ground.
Whether there was...
But you won't let that happen. I'm asking you if you can tell me what your account is, and you've just actually literally said two separate things. One is the IDF is trying to work out what's going on, and then you've also then said the IDF is not responsible in any way.
So what I said
how
is
are we
that
supposed to read this?
Look, exactly as I said it, clearly. I came on your show 2 minutes after this incident was reported by international channels. I'm not in Gaza. I don't know every single thing that actually happens there, but I let the time to investigate this issue. And then when I've been given the information, I can give you accurate information. I don't take the propaganda of Hamas as a given fact. And so I give the proper authorities in our IDF, who has been very accurate with almost all the information they've been telling all of the international media. So I suggest we wait. It won't probably take long, and I will receive information as much as the Israeli defense spokesperson will give you some of this information as well.
All right.
The fact is, I don't know whether there was an event like that or there wasn't an event like that, and I'm waiting on that report from the proper authorities.
I wish Trevor had challenged this disgusting woman by asking if the Red Cross, Times of Israel, Haaretz, AP News Agency, as well as those live visuals from Gaza were all wrong. Now, when even Trevor Phillips of Sky News, who I'm not a great fan of anyway, starts to look more competent and objective than the BBC, then it tells you everything about the sad demise of journalism in the BBC. Thank you very much for your support of this channel and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.